Henry, the judge who reversed his fate at 69. I spent a lifetime judging others. I never expected the harshest sentence would come from my own body. Henry, 69, retired federal judge, the man behind the gavel. Henry wasn't just another retiree. For over 4 decades, he sat at the highest bench of civil law in the state of Victoria, Australia. Stern, articulate, deeply analytical, he was known for handing down decisions that shaped policy and affected thousands of lives. But the man who once commanded courtrooms with a calm, commanding voice had lost control of the one court that mattered most, his body, the slow fall of a disciplined man. Retirement is a paradox. For some, it's freedom. For Henry, it was the beginning of a slow and quiet collapse. At 69, he had gained over 45 kilograms since his 50s, struggled with sleep apnea, developed a chronic limp from knee inflammation, was on 6 daily medications: blood pressure, blood thinner, statin, metformin, gout treatment, and proton pump inhibitors, and quietly battled depression, a shadow no one knew about. His days had become a routine of strong coffee at 6:30 a.m., pills before breakfast, toast with jam, hours reading legal journals, a heavy lunch alone, nap, TV, red wine and cheese, bed by midnight, bloated and breathless. Henry was alive, yes, but he was not living. Medical profile: the 6 conditions that defined his life sentence. Condition: root cause medication, hypertension, insulin resistance, sodium imbalance, amlodipine, blood clotting risk, liver inflammation, poor circulation, warfarin, high cholesterol, fatty liver, high sugar diet, statin, high blood sugar, refined carbs, stress, inactivity, metformin, gout, uric acid buildup from poor kidney function, allopurinol, stomach ulcers, NSAID use, stress, poor gut lining, omeprazole. Each condition had its own medication, and each medication came with side effects, creating new problems that justified new prescriptions. It was a loop with no exit. Until one day, his daughter intervened. The moment of intervention. It was late spring. Henry was sitting on his patio, scotch in hand, watching the wind shake the olive trees. In his garden, his daughter Sarah, a registered nurse, came to visit with her son. She noticed. His hands trembled reaching for the glass. His breathing was shallow. His legs had started to swell. And then she said, softly, "Dad, you have more degrees than anyone I know. Why can't you see what's happening to you?" Henry didn't answer, not because he disagreed, but because in that moment, he didn't know who he was anymore. That night, after she left, he Googled natural alternatives to medications. That led him to Barbara O'Neill. A skeptic walks into a retreat. When Henry arrived at Barbara's retreat in New South Wales, he wasn't convinced. He brought all his medications. He intended to observe, not participate. He was still the judge, skeptical, analytical, detached. But what he didn't expect was how different he felt. After just 3 days, early changes: woke up without dry mouth, bowels moved without laxatives, ate meals without bloating, laughed for the first time in months. Barbara never pressured him to stop his meds. She simply said, "Let your body speak. If something changes, listen." And Henry did. The tipping point: internal versus external authority. On day 5, Henry walked 1.5 kilometers, something he hadn't done in 10 years, without knee pain. It wasn't magic. It was biology. His inflammation markers were dropping. Hydration had normalized. His bowels were clearing uric acid. His liver, freed from alcohol and seed oils, had begun producing clean bile. His blood sugar wasn't spiking. For the first time in decades, his cells had access to oxygen and nutrients, without a fight. And then came the biggest shift. Back to the doctor. 6 weeks later, back in Melbourne, Henry visited his physician for a routine follow-up. The doctor looked at his file, then looked at Henry. "This can't be your blood pressure. 120/75, Henry said. "Without the meds, your cholesterol is normal. Your HbA1c dropped by 1.3 points. You've lost nearly 20 kilos. Henry just smiled. They began tapering his medications. Safely, gradually, with full lab confirmation. From judge to reborn. Over the next 18 months, Henry lost 70 kilograms total. Went from 6 medications to 1. An occasional herbal tonic. Canceled his scheduled knee surgery. Reversed his diagnosis of gout. fully healed his stomach ulcers, became a speaker at 2 health conferences for retired professionals. But more importantly, he woke up each morning, not afraid of his body. He began mentoring younger judges, teaching them the biology of burnout. He reconnected with his estranged brother. He started writing a book, not about law, but about life after medicine. Doctor's Clinical Summary: Why Henry Healed. System Root Fix Result. Cardiovascular removed inflammatory oils, added potassium, hydration BP normalized. Liver quit alcohol, added fiber, removed statins cholesterol improved. Endocrine reduced sugar, stabilized cortisol blood sugar dropped. Renal hydrated, added greens, lowered uric acid gout reversed. Gastrointestinal removed irritants, used mucosal healing herbs ulcers healed. Musculoskeletal weight loss, anti-inflammatory nutrients no more surgery. The final word from Henry. In a letter he later wrote to Barbara, he said, "I spent 40 years trying to make society just, through laws, logic, and punishment. But no one taught me how to make my body just. You did that, quietly, gently, and now I finally feel like the man I sentenced myself to become. Strong, clear, and unafraid." The body on trial. How 6 chronic conditions nearly took Henry's life, and how he took it back. My body wasn't just tired. It was speaking, in the only language it knew. Pain, pressure, swelling, and silence. Henry, 69. The silent sentence behind the robe. Henry, a respected retired judge, wasn't just battling the loneliness of post-retirement. He was fighting a quiet, internal war with 6 chronic conditions, built over decades of stress, poor nutrition, inactivity, and long-term medication use. These illnesses didn't act alone. They fed into each other, created feedback loops, and locked Henry in a vicious cycle of disease, medication, side effects, more disease. But Henry did what most would call impossible. He reversed nearly all of it through lifestyle changes alone. So how did that happen? Let's break down each condition deeply and truthfully. 1. Hypertension, the silent killer. Condition: high blood pressure happens when the force of blood against the artery walls stays too high for too long. It silently damages the endothelium, the inner lining of blood vessels, leading to stroke, heart failure, and kidney disease. Root causes in Henry's body: chronic high insulin, salt, and water retention, increased blood volume. Electrolyte imbalance: low potassium, high sodium. Chronic inflammation from processed foods. Cellular dehydration from too much caffeine, not enough water. Medication: amlodipine dilates blood vessels, but doesn't address the cause. How Henry healed. Quit coffee and alcohol, reduced sympathetic stress. Hydrated with mineral-rich water, restored electrolytes. Added potassium and magnesium via veggies. Reduced sugar and refined carbs, lowered insulin, less fluid retention. Drank hawthornberry tea, a natural vasodilator. Result: in just 8 weeks, his blood pressure dropped from 160/90 to 120/75, without medication. 2. Hypercoagulation, the hidden clotting risk. Condition: blood clots form abnormally inside vessels, increasing risk of stroke, pulmonary embolism, and heart attack. Root causes in Henry: high blood sugar, endothelial damage, oxidized cholesterol, and damaged fats, platelet activation. Deficiencies in omega-3s and vitamin K2. Sedentary lifestyle, poor circulation. Medication: warfarin, a powerful blood thinner, but with serious side effects. How Henry healed. 8. Dark leafy greens, rich in balanced vitamin K. Added sardines for omega-3s. Drank water consistently, increased blood flow. Walked daily, improved venous return. Avoided red wine, processed meats, clot triggers. Result: after 3 months, his INR stabilized, and his doctors safely began tapering him off blood thinners. 3. Hyperlipidemia, the blocked highway. Condition: high LDL cholesterol and triglycerides. Clog arteries and lead to cardiovascular disease. Root causes in Henry: excess refined sugar, liver overproduces cholesterol. Lack of fiber, poor cholesterol clearance. Omega-3 and choline deficiency, impaired fat metabolism. Excess weight, fatty liver, and elevated lipids. Medication: statins, lower cholesterol, but cause side effects: muscle pain, liver strain. How Henry healed. cut white sugar, white flour, and seed oils. Ate butter, coconut oil, and cold-pressed olive oil increased HDL. Added sourdough, oats, lentils soluble fiber. Drank hibiscus tea lowered LDL naturally. Result: in 4 months, his lipid panel returned to normal. Statins were discontinued. 4. Hyperglycemia, the quiet onset of type 2 diabetes. Condition: high blood sugar damages tiny blood vessels in the eyes, kidneys, heart, and nerves. Over time, it leads to type 2 diabetes. Root causes in Henry: frequent meals, high-carb diet, minimal movement. Chronic stress and poor sleep. Visceral fat, insulin resistance. Medication: metformin boosts insulin sensitivity. How Henry healed: shifted to 2 meals per day, skipped dinner. Eliminated coffee and alcohol, reduced glucose swings. Increased fiber and healthy fat, stabilized blood sugar. Walked 10 minutes after each meal, lowered post-meal spikes. Result: in 3 months, his HbA1c dropped from 6.8% to 5.4%. No longer pre-diabetic. Metformin stopped. 5. Gout, the screaming joints. Condition: uric acid crystals build up in joints, causing sudden, severe pain, commonly in the big toe, ankle, or knee. Root causes in Henry: ate red meat and high purine foods. Drank red wine nightly. Dehydrated kidneys, couldn't filter uric acid. Acidic pH from too much animal protein. Medication: allopurinol blocks uric acid production. How Henry healed: drank 2 liters of water daily. Ate cucumbers, celery alkalized the blood. Quit alcohol completely. Ate green veggies, pumpkin legumes. Added lemon water and ginger tea. Result: after 2 uric acid tests, his doctor confirmed no more gout flare-ups. Medication stopped. 6. Peptic ulcer, the invisible burn of stress. Condition: stomach ulcers occur when the protective lining erodes, leading to pain, bleeding, or perforation. Root causes in Henry: long-term NSAID use. Drinking alcohol and coffee on an empty stomach. Chronic stress reduced blood flow to gut lining. Low intake of soothing, alkaline vegetables. Medication: omeprazole suppresses stomach acid. How Henry healed: stopped NSAIDs, alcohol, and caffeine. Ate oatmeal, steamed cabbage, pumpkin. Drank cabbage juice and licorice root tea. Ate meals on time, never skipped breakfast. Result: within 2 months, his pain was gone. Endoscopy showed healed lining. Omeprazole discontinued. Summary: how Henry's body came back online. Condition before-after: blood pressure 160/90/120/75. HbA1c, blood sugar 6.8% 5.4%. Cholesterol 250 plus mg/dl 180 milligrams per deciliter. Uric acid elevated normal. Medications 6 types daily 0 to 1, herbal only. Excess weight plus 45 kilograms, lost 70 kilograms total. A doctor's final word: 6 diagnoses, but only 1 body, 1 system. And when you heal the root, every cell in the body responds. Together, Henry wasn't just a recovering patient. He became living proof of a simple truth: the body doesn't need to be punished to change. It needs to be understood. The turning point: how Henry healed without a single workout or medication. They gave me pills to silence the symptoms. Barbara gave me tea and timing to let my body speak again. Henry, on the first day after returning from the retreat. From courtroom to countryside. After nearly 4 decades of courtroom battles, Henry had faced his most silent and insidious opponent, his own body. At 69, with 6 diagnoses and half a dozen daily medications, he had begun to resign to the belief that this was simply aging, that medications were his new normal, and fatigue, swelling, and memory lapses were just part of the retirement package. But one Google search changed everything. A link to a healing retreat, tucked in the New South Wales countryside. The facilitator? Barbara O'Neill, a woman with no pharmaceutical ties, just a deep understanding of cellular healing through nutrition, hydration, and herbs. Hesitation at the threshold. Henry didn't arrive with hope. He arrived with skepticism. He brought his entire pill box. He brought questions. He brought an attitude that said, "I'll watch, but don't expect me to join your little tea parties." He was still a judge, trained in rationality, used to evidence. But within the first 24 hours, something unexpected happened. He slept through the night. For the first time in months. No wine. No sleeping pill. Just warm hawthorn tea. And a quiet room. The foundation, hawthorn berry, a cardiovascular ally. Barbara didn't open with detox protocols or intimidating regimens. She started with a pot of herbal tea, made from dried hawthorn berries. Henry was told, drink it throughout the day, especially in the morning and late afternoon. This is your heart's best friend. The science behind it. Hawthorn berries are rich in flavonoids and oligomeric proanthocyanidins, OPCs, compounds known to dilate blood vessels, improve coronary blood flow, reduce blood pressure naturally, strengthen heart muscle contractions. In a 2010 meta-analysis of 14 studies, American Journal of Medicine, hawthorn extract was shown to reduce systolic BP by up to 10 millimeters of mercury in patients with mild hypertension. Henry didn't know the studies, but he felt the shift. The pounding in my chest eased. My hands felt warmer. My breath came deeper. Within 4 days, his blood pressure dropped from 160 to 90 to 138/82. With no pills. The core of healing, nutrition without deprivation. Henry wasn't starved. He wasn't placed on a cleanse. Instead, he was served meals. That felt abundant, but healed at the cellular level. His typical day at the retreat. Breakfast, steel-cut oats, topped with berries and coconut cream. Herbal infusion, nettle, hawthorn, or dandelion. Handful of soaked almonds. Purpose, stabilize blood sugar, nourish the brain, feed good gut bacteria. Lunch, main meal, large raw salad, arugula, beets, carrots, sprouts, steamed vegetables with olive oil, lentils or chickpeas, sourdough bread with avocado and tomato. Purpose, maximize fiber, cleanse the liver, fuel muscles, fight inflammation. Dinner, light vegetable broth or skip entirely. Cup of warm hawthorn or chamomile tea. Purpose, allow digestion to rest, support sleep hormone release. What changed? No added sugar, no caffeine, no alcohol, no processed food, no meat, no dairy, except coconut and fermented foods. Every meal had a purpose, to heal, not just to fill. The gentle weapon, hydration therapy. Henry was used to drinking coffee and wine, but barely a glass of plain water a day. At the retreat, every morning began with 500 milliliters warm water, pinch of sea salt, squeeze of lemon. Then water was sipped, slowly between meals, never during. Result, digestion normalized, energy stabilized, joints felt lubricated from the inside. By day 6, he no longer craved coffee. By day 9, he didn't miss wine. And by day 12, he realized, I'd been thirsty for 20 years, and I didn't know it. The only movement required, walking with intention. Barbara didn't push cardio. She didn't assign squats. She invited walking. Barefoot in the garden, if possible, 10 minutes after each meal. Why? Lowers post-meal glucose spikes, activates parasympathetic nervous system, enhances lymphatic drainage, triggers fat metabolism without cortisol spikes. Henry began with 300 meters after breakfast. By day 7, he was comfortably walking 2 kilometers a day, with no joint pain. The mind-body reset, rest without guilt. Henry hadn't napped in 15 years. His life was schedules, to-do lists, pressure. At the retreat, Barbara made afternoon silence mandatory. No phones, no talking, just lying in a hammock or under a tree. Henry resisted the first few days. Then, one afternoon, he fell asleep, outside, under a eucalyptus tree. When he woke up, he didn't feel shame. He felt human again. Internal shifts by day 14. System shift observed. Cardiovascular BP down 20 millimeters of mercury, pulse calmer. Gastrointestinal regular, complete bowel movements. Sleep full 6 to 7 hours, unbroken. Brain less fog, sharper recall. Appetite reduced cravings, no hunger pangs. Joints less stiffness in knees and wrists. Mood lighter, more sociable, humorous. Henry wrote in his journal, "This isn't a treatment. It's a return, a remembering of how the body wants to live." What made Barbara's program different? Most health programs try to add supplements, restrict calories, enforce exercise, sell a product. Barbara's model removed noise. No artificial anything. No distractions. No rush. She replaced volume with presence, calories with colors, pills with plants. Healing didn't come from what was added. It came from what was removed. Fear, pressure, inflammation. The return home, a different man in the mirror. When Henry returned home 3 weeks later, he had lost 8 kilograms. His skin tone was clearer. His hands no longer trembled. He walked taller. But more than that, his identity had shifted. He was no longer a man counting pills. He was a man counting steps, watching the sky, cooking breakfast. He visited his physician 1 month later. After reviewing lab results, the doctor asked, "Whatever you did, can you teach it to my other patients?" Final reflections. The judge who reversed the sentence. Henry's transformation wasn't flashy. It wasn't viral. It wasn't sponsored by a fitness brand. It was a quiet, steady, cellular resurrection. No gym, no surgeries, no supplements. Just food, water, herbs, rest, and time. When asked in a later interview, what was the hardest part? Henry replied, "Believing I deserved to feel good again." 3 meals diet, the miracle of real food. Not pills, not surgery, just 3 meals a day, designed to heal from the inside out. Henry, after 18 months of recovery, eat to come alive, not just to cope. Before meeting Barbara O'Neill, Henry thought eating was secondary. He ate to handle stress, to soothe loneliness, or simply out of habit, like most city dwellers do. His routine? Strong coffee at 6 a.m., white bread with cheese, heavy lunch with red meat and starch, late dinners with red wine and salty snacks. The result? Uncontrollable weight gain, blood sugar spikes and crashes, high visceral fat, restless sleep, joint pain, acid reflux, and rising blood pressure. Barbara didn't ask him to go on a diet. She gave him one golden rule: eat at the right time, the right things, for the right purpose, and let your body do the rest. Breakfast, food for happiness hormones. What did Henry eat? Whole grains, rolled oats or millet, slow cooked in water. Fresh fruits, apples, bananas, berries. Coconut cream, pure, unsweetened. Metabolic effects. Whole grains provided. Complex carbs, slow energy release, no sugar spikes. Beta-glucan lowers LDL cholesterol. Soluble fiber satiety, digestive support. Fresh fruit offered. Vitamin C, flavonoids, polyphenol antioxidant power. Liver and kidney support. Natural fructose, gentle on insulin. Coconut cream delivered. MCTs, medium-chain triglycerides, fast-burning fuel. Mid-morning satiety. Gut lining protection and brain nourishment. Effects on the brain and nervous system. Boosted natural serotonin. Improved short-term memory and focus. Lowered morning cortisol, stress hormone. After 3 weeks, no more morning coffee cravings. No fatigue or hand tremors after breakfast. Stable blood sugar until late afternoon. Fewer reactive hypoglycemia episodes. Lunch, the main meal that feeds cells and fights inflammation. What did Henry eat? Fresh salad, lettuce, arugula, thin beet slices, shredded carrots, sprouts. Steamed vegetables, broccoli, mushrooms, zucchini. Plant protein, chickpeas, lentils, or black beans. 2 slices of sourdough bread. Sliced avocado plus ripe tomatoes. Cold-pressed olive oil plus fresh lemon juice as dressing. Biological mechanisms. Raw and steamed vegetables. Live enzymes plus anti-inflammatory compounds. Chlorophyll, flavonoids. Prebiotics nourished gut bacteria. Liver support via improved bile flow. Plant-based proteins. Essential amino acids without red meat inflammation. Kidney-friendly, gout-safe. No bad cholesterol. Sourdough bread. Easier to digest thanks to fermentation. Low glycemic index. Gut-soothing, anti-constipation. Avocado plus tomato. Avocado equals heart protective fats. Tomato equals lycopene cancer plus artery protection. Cold-pressed olive oil. Enhances absorption of vitamins A, D, E, K. Reduces joint pain. Supports brain health. After 8 weeks, no more gout flare-ups. Improved blood lipid profile. Light belly, clear head, feeling after lunch. No post-meal drowsiness, despite no coffee. Dinner. Turn off insulin. Turn on fat-burning mode. Henry chose 1 slice of sourdough with avocado and tomato, or a bowl of soft vegetable broth, pumpkin, bok choy, ginger, or skip dinner altogether, Just light herbal tea. Physiological purpose. Avoiding heavy protein or carbs at night. Prevents nighttime insulin spikes, allows fat burn. Reduces liver fat, linked to type 2 diabetes. 14 to 16 hour fasting window. Triggers autophagy cell cleanup. Lowers inflammation. Improves liver enzymes, blood fat, and nighttime blood pressure. Herbal teas. Hibiscus lowers blood pressure. Chamomile promotes deep sleep. Licorice root protects stomach lining. After 3 months, Henry slept deeply, no meds. Uric acid normalized. Waist size shrank from 116 centimeters to 94 centimeters. No more acid reflux or upper stomach pain. Recap: 3 gentle meals that changed everything. Mealtime metabolic goal key benefits. Breakfast 7 to 8 a.m. fuel, blood sugar stability, less cravings, sharper mind. Lunch 12 to 1 p.m. anti-inflammatory, cellular repair, digestive plus hormonal recovery. Dinner 4 to 5 p.m. or skip cell cleanup, fat burn, liver reset, deep sleep, reduced liver fat. Your body doesn't need you to eat less. It needs you to eat more truthfully. From Henry's Journal, Week 16 at Home. Core philosophy: your body is a teacher, not a machine. I used to think disease came from aging. But no, it comes from habits. And health is something we can relearn. Henry, after 2 years of recovery. Eat to live again, not to cope. When Henry began his recovery journey at 69, he wasn't told to take new medications. He wasn't sent to the gym. And he wasn't put on a harsh diet. Instead, he was taught a simple but powerful life philosophy. You don't have to fight your body. You just have to understand it. And that philosophy started with 4 small changes that transformed his entire system. 1. Cut refined carbs. Flip the fat storage switch off. The core issue: refined carbs are silent saboteurs. Henry ate like most people. White bread in the morning, white rice for lunch, pasta, cookies, pastries as snacks or dinner. All refined carbohydrates. That means no grain, whole, no fiber. Digested too quickly causes insulin spikes. No living enzymes or protective nutrients. What happens inside the body? Glucose spikes, pancreas pumps out insulin. High insulin blocks fat burning, stores visceral fat. Sugar overload, glycation damages vessels, nerves, brain. Henry experienced fatty liver, prediabetes, joint inflammation, and ankle swelling. Hard belly fat, visceral fat. Solution: switched white rice, oats, millet, brown rice. Replaced white bread, naturally fermented sourdough. Swapped pasta, boiled potatoes, or stewed legumes. Skipped dinner, let his body burn fat overnight. Results after 6 weeks. Lost 6.4 kilograms of visceral fat. Waist shrank by 10 centimeters. HbA1c dropped from 6.8% to 5.8%. 2. Eat healthy fats and plant protein. Feed your cells the right way. Fat isn't the enemy, we just picked the wrong kinds. Henry used to avoid fats. He used vegetable oil, canola, soybean, and avoided eggs, fearing cholesterol. The result? High cholesterol, high blood lipids, fatty liver, blurry vision, shaky hands, poor memory. The truth: bad fats, trans fats, industrial oils, cause inflammation, damage cell membranes. Good fats: avocado, coconut, olive, omega-3s, nourish the brain, balance hormones, reduce inflammation. Why good fats matter deeply. Role: biological function. Cell membrane builder, makes nutrient exchange efficient and flexible. Hormone production, supports testosterone, estrogen, DHEA. Anti-inflammatory, EPA/DHA, calms cytokine storms. Nutrient absorption, aids vitamins A, D, E, and K. What Henry did: coconut cream in the morning, avocado plus cold-pressed olive oil at lunch, 1 tablespoon flaxseed oil daily. Sardines, rich in omega-3, 1 to 2 times a week. Completely eliminated refined vegetable oils. Why Henry shifted to plant protein. Red meat and processed meats, high purines, triggered gout, overloaded liver and kidneys. Plant protein equals fiber, enzymes, anti-inflammatory compounds. Examples: chickpeas, lentils, chia seeds. Fed muscles and gut microbiome. After 3 months, no gout medication needed, flare-ups gone. Cholesterol dropped from 230 to 180 milligrams per deciliter. Mental clarity improved, energy stabilized, no sugar crashes. 3. Add fiber. Avoid white sugar, white flour, white rice. What Henry struggled with: chronic constipation, acid reflux, bloating after meals, dull skin, dry mouth, dark yellow urine. All signs of low fiber, causing sluggish digestion and overburdened liver, kidneys, and gut. Why fiber is critical to life. Type function: soluble, oats, chia, feeds gut bacteria, lowers cholesterol, slows sugar absorption. Insoluble, veggies, rice bran, speeds bowel movement, detoxifies. Prebiotics: green banana, garlic, onion, boosts gut biodiversity. Fiber also helps burn visceral fat, prevent stroke and colon cancer, lower systemic inflammation, stabilize blood sugar after meals. What Henry did: ate 3 to 5 colorful vegetables per meal, added oats, flax seeds, legumes, eliminated white sugar, flour, rice completely, ate raw vegetables first, steam next, protein last. After 8 weeks, regular bowel movements, no laxatives, liver fat reduced, ultrasound showed clear and healthy. No more reflux, off omeprazole completely. 4. No intense workouts, just walk and change the rhythm. Henry didn't go to the gym, didn't run, didn't bike. Why? Arthritic knees. Excess weight risky for ligaments. High inflammation exercise spikes cortisol. Barber's advice: you don't need to punish your body. You need to invite it to move again. He just walked, but walked smart. Time physiological benefit: 15 to 30 minutes after meals lowers blood sugar, boosts insulin sensitivity. Early morning boosts dopamine, serotonin, vitamin D. Before bed calms nervous system, promotes sleep. Henry began with 10 minutes after lunch. Gradually built to 2 to 3 kilometers per day. No step counter, just deep breathing and mindfulness. After 12 weeks, no more need for knee replacement. Softer arteries, stable blood pressure. Slept 6 to 7 hours, no sleep aids. Final thought: a philosophy, not a protocol. This philosophy didn't just shrink my waist. It changed how I saw myself. I'm no longer a patient. I'm a student, relearning how to live. Henry. Pillars shift biological benefit. Reduce refined carbs, stop insulin spikes, burn visceral fat, lower blood sugar. Good fats plus plant protein, anti-inflammatory nutrition, heals cell membranes, balance hormones. Add fiber, gut, liver, brain harmony, detoxification, lower cholesterol. No hard workouts, gentle walking rhythm, fat burn without nervous system stress.